So in the past 24 hours, we were told West Ham are not seeing the striker position as a priority in this transfer window, and then more recently it's been revealed that we actually are very interested in free transfer Callum Wilson. And this has kind of created an interesting vibe around the fans at the minute. There's lots of volatile reactions. People going, Sullivan's doing it again. We're not going to fix the striker position. It's necessary. Some fans saying we don't need a striker. In actual fact, on my video I did yesterday about the news that it's not a priority, a lot of you guys were quite happy to have Jared Bowen as one of the options along with Fulkrug Marshall. So it's interesting that some fans, it seems like people are either side of the fence on if it's a priority or not, which I find interesting. But the Callum Wilson of it all, is it again another one where I'm a bit conflicted? Because I think this whole situation about not needing a striker is based on Nicholas Fulkrug, and I like Nicholas Fulkrug a lot. I think Fulkrug is a great player. I think it'll be great for us this season if he stays fit, and that is the issue. And what you then create is, if we say, for example, we have Callum Wilson, then it becomes Callum Wilson's second choice, Callum Marshall's third choice. I'm cool with that. That's fine, makes sense. Or I assume it will be, if we don't have Callum Wilson, it'll be Bowen's second choice, Marshall third choice. Which again I'm fine with. The issue for me is that whenever we play Bowen up front, it makes him a lot less effective because how good he is on the right. So to have him in the centre, for me, just doesn't always seem to be the best method. And we certainly have players, if Bowen is playing up top, that can go on the right. Guilherme, even Walker Peters, Wan-Bissaka. So even if we're doing a wing-back system, we have players in the wide that will be able to substitute for Bowen being up front. But I think it makes us a lot less effective going forward. Bowen on the right, it works. Fulkrug up top, works. Somerville on the left, works. That is a front three, banging. If one of them gets injured though, and obviously Chris Somerville last season, freak injury, I'm sure he'll be back normally fit. Fulkrug, I hope so. Obviously looking a lot leaner, looking a lot fitter. Potter's really happy with the effort he's put in pre-season to get himself ready for this season. Bowen, even when he's injured, he comes back. I don't understand it. He is like Antonio in the sense of whenever they get injured, they just find a way. And of course there is the looming idea of Mikel Antonio signing another deal. I understand West Ham's point of view in the sense of we don't have much money to spend, we need the midfield reinvention, that's what we've got to spend our money on. So from that perspective, I see why the striker is not a priority at the minute. We do have to remember, we've still got quite a while this window, things can change very quickly. Say we got our midfielders in, we can easily go and get a striker. To me, that makes probably the most sense as to what's going to happen. I could be wrong though. Again, this is entirely me spitballing and trying to stay on the positive side as I do on this channel. But if we did have to go to Callum Wilson as a last resort, for one season I wouldn't mind it. Now I know some people were saying last season he was injury riddled, and he has always been injury riddled. Absolutely. Fair enough. That is true. On a free, I wouldn't mind it. I think it would work for one season, maybe two, maximum. And it would also be good for Callum Marshall. Not just because they're both called Callum, it's not the reason, but I think to have someone like Wilson who's done it in the Premier League for so long to learn from would not be a bad thing. And I understand that's not a reason you should sign a player to help the youth players. In theory, that should be the coaches and also the other players. It doesn't matter what position you're in, you can learn. But I think Callum Wilson is somebody that will get us a few goals. It is another Danny Ings, in a sense, but with a lot less money. We're not paying a transfer fee this time. It's sort of like we got rid of Danny Ings, so in Callum Wilson, they're the same sort of, to me, level of player now. They're both, a bit slower than they used to be, maybe not as sharp. But I don't know, it feels a bit different with Callum Wilson. Maybe I just want him in there so that the Newcastle versus West Ham fixture is safe, because this man somehow still loves a goal against West Ham. I don't understand it. This man's just got a weird spell on West Ham that whenever he plays us, he will score a goal. It is just a fact. And maybe I'm trying to protect a couple points, which I think if it's a free transfer, guarantees us a couple points. Sign him up right now. Sign right this second. But in all seriousness, my opinion on it is it wouldn't fix our striker issue. It would just it would kick it down the road. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because I think it would be impossible for West Ham to fix everything in this window. I think we've done well with the fullback situation. Centre-backs as they are currently, great. We get a new goalkeeper in, great. Defence, sorted. Wingers on their own, sorted. Midfield needs a couple of signings and it's sorted. So the striker then becomes the last thing. And when we're on a shoestring budget, which whether you agree with that or not, is the case, it is how we're operating in this window, I do think the striker is the least amount of priority, just because you do have Fulkrug, you do have Bowen, you do have Callum Marshall. That's going to be weird for this video. I need to make sure I do not mix them up, and if I do, sorry. But we do have options there. I can just see that being the excuse as to why we kick the can down the road. But also, getting a striker in this window has been very difficult and expensive. Obviously, Liverpool had just signed Ugo Ekitike, and that was a big deal. I think something like 85 million euros, something like that. Crazy money. Nicholas Jackson could be going to Manchester United. That's rumoured to be about 80 million. If you look at current day football, number 9s are so difficult to come by. I mean, think of the Premier League. How many number 9s can you name that are actually really good? I can't think of many. I think Isak is the first one that comes to mind. Obviously, Watkins is a great player. Delap will become a great player. But after that, you're really struggling. You've got the likes of Rasmus Højlund, Nicholas Jackson. You know, these players that are on the precipice of being really good strikers, but are potentially not quite there just yet. And that is the big difference. How can West Ham compete with this current market of strikers when, because they're so finite, their value skyrockets? I mean, we are living in a world where Victor Gyökeres for 70-something million is looking like a good deal. How has that become a thing? How is that a good deal? That should be like the top end of what you're paying. And now 70 million, it's a great deal. Well done, they got that over the line. Craziness. Considering the fact that West Ham wouldn't even get close to that in turning for a striker. What would we do? Well, we tried a loan last year with Evan Ferguson. That didn't work out. He's now gone to Roma, I think, and I'm wishing him all the very best there because he's clearly a good player. Clearly, the injuries have hit him, though. He needs some time to kind of just get minutes. I think the Serie A, maybe a bit of a less intense league, could suit him just to be able to get that fitness back, and hopefully one day comes back to the Premier League. I think that's what every football fan would hope for the lad. But now even Ferguson's gone, it becomes difficult. Your next level down is João Pedro's, Fulkrug obviously, and even then how much are they worth now? If Fulkrug has a good season this year, surely we can up his price to about 50 million. It doesn't matter the age, because just how finite these strikers are is allowing teams to do this. Now obviously I'm being a bit facetious. 50 million for someone of Fulkrug's age and injury record is a joke. But you get the point, right? There's not many Nicholas Fulkrugs out there now. And that creates an issue when West Ham fans say we need a striker. Who can we get? And that's why, I know I'm in the middle part of the video and normally I put this at the end, but please in the comments, if you guys have any ideas who we should sign, put it in the comments below, because I genuinely don't know. This is the first time I've been stumped for striking options. I thought Jonathan David from Lille, who was out of contract, was the best option. We didn't get him. He chose to go to Juventus, which I understand. If you're Jonathan David, you know, why wouldn't you choose to go to a club that is in Europe, that is performing at a higher level than West Ham at the minute? West Ham would have been a sideward step, you know, from Lille. Yes, it's the Premier League, but he wouldn't have that European football. It's tough, right? And I think the issue with the West Ham striker is that we've had this issue for ages. We've been relying on Antonio maybe for 5 years too long than what we should have been. And we've not been able to replace Sebastian Haller. We tried with Gianluca Scamacca, didn't work. Now we have Fulkrug. There's signs that it could work, but obviously, again, because of his age profile, it's not something that's going to last forever. We have Callum Marshall coming through the youth academy. He could become a great player. But in terms of this window, I don't see where the striker's coming from. I don't see where we can get a striker. I could be crazy, but I can see why Potter's going, it's not the priority. I understand in the current circumstances why Potter thinks the striker is going to be a tougher deal to get over the line. Let's sort the midfield out. We have players that can play up front. Let's use them like that. And I'm not saying that's ideal. I'm not saying that is what I want, because in a perfect world, it isn't. In a perfect world, I want a striker. I want someone that can lead the line for West Ham. Bird on the right, Saville on the left. Fulkrug as the backup with Callum Marshall. The one thing Callum Wilson does do is it gives us enough time to scope the market. But my main point is this. The window is so long. It can change at a moment's notice. Right, we're currently looking at midfielders, but we've still got so long. If we get those midfielders over the next couple of weeks, then we'll turn our attention to the striker. It gives us a few weeks to try and find a striker. I genuinely, because of the financials involved, I see us loaning a striker. If we get one, I don't see us buying one. I think we did dodge a bullet with John Duran, who did come back from the Saudi League and has gone to Fenerbahce and missed the training session. And I don't think Jose Mourinho is that enamoured with him already. So I think as West Ham fans, I think we can all be happy and take a sigh of relief that we dodged that bullet. But overall, I'm not trying to make excuses for the board here, because that's not what I want to do. I know I say I'm positive, but I just don't know who to sign. And I think Callum Wilson, again, is a patch job, but it's a patch job that makes sense. It's on a free. If we did the same thing we did with Danny Ings, where we had to pay money for him, I'd be like, absolutely not. That is a ridiculous signing. Do not do it. But because this is just a free transfer, it makes sense. 2-year deal. Yes, his wages would be a bit higher because it's a free transfer, but that's how free transfers work. And he's Premier League proven. As I mentioned before, he'd be good for Callum Marshall. I just think I can see why they're going down that route. I'm not saying I want Callum Wilson, but I also think it's not the worst choice in the world. I'm going to leave you with this. Would you rather no Callum Wilson and no signing, so just Fulkrug, Bowen, Marshall? Or would you rather Callum Wilson with those guys? Because that's what I'm interested in. Because realistically, I don't know any strikers. You guys might. But that would be my point. I would ask is, would you rather Callum Wilson there, just an extra body? Or would you go, we don't need him, don't sign him, save the wages? Because I'm genuinely interested. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That's all I've got for you today. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. Your support has been fantastic. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Have a good day. Bye-bye.